today we're talking about the final episode of the series Wandavision. In this video, I'm going to be talking about this episode 9 and just, the series as a whole, what I thought of it. I do want to quickly say sorry, it's been a while since the last review, maybe 2 weeks, maybe even more. But Dylan and I have both been on holiday. But anyway, talking about this episode 9, there are some things in this episode which I did quite like, but also some that I just didn't like. Starting off with the positives anyway, I thought, we see a lot of fights in the air in this episode, which is quite cool, unique. It's something that we hadn't seen before, and it's quite a cool thing to add just in this final episode. And there's also a part which I've liked in particular, where we see there's a flashback of Vision's memory, and we get to see stuff from Infinity War, which I definitely did like. And there's one thing that I also noticed was quite cool. I don't know if you guys noticed this when you watched it, but there's a scene where Wanda, she throws a car at Agatha, and then she falls into this house, and we think that she's going to be trapped under this car, and then Wanda walks over to her, and there's just these boots under the car. And it's exactly like in the film The Wizard of Oz, then if you guys have seen it, where Dorothy sees the witch's boots under the house. And this is really cool, I thought, because the villain in Wizard of Oz is a witch, and the villain in this film is also, in this series, is also a witch. I don't know if they did this on purpose, but it's exactly what I was thinking when I saw this, so, maybe it was on purpose, I'm not sure. Adding on to the fights with Wanda and Agatha, there's also a part where Agatha snaps the entire of Westview out, and they're all walking up to Wanda, and they all hate her because she's taken over them basically. I thought Elizabeth Olsen's acting here was brilliant as well. Definitely the star performer throughout the whole series, I'd have to say. And throughout this episode, and throughout this series even, there's just brilliant CGI, especially again in the bit where, Westview, it goes back to normal and it all changes from being old to modern. I thought this was really cool. And even when Wanda and other characters use their powers and stuff, or the red and stuff, it just looks so cool, I thought. And also last time, I also kind of, had a go at Agatha for not being too good of a villain. But in this episode, she definitely just picks it up. I think it's cool how we find out that she consumes people's powers, and it was a really good thing to add in the last episode. And she was definitely a lot better than she was in the previous episodes, I have to say, because when they reveal it, she wasn't as menacing, but in this one, she was definitely menacing. And we also revisit the witch scene again, which I did like. I think it was in episode 8. And in this scene, it's quite cool because Wanda's being trapped, and all these people are calling her the Scarlet Witch, and she's like, she's like, what's going on? And they show the crown forming on her head, which is also really cool, I thought. The end of the episode, it also ends on quite a heartwarming scene. Just after Agatha goes back to being, the nosy old neighbor. Wandavision and the twins, they go home, and they're saying goodbye to each other because they know that Wanda has to leave them. And the music here, it's really good. It matched the scene very well. And lastly, I didn't know if you guys noticed, but it's a very classic Marvel thing. They have 2 after credit scenes for this series, and they were both pretty good, I have to say. The second one in particular was my favourite, and it shows us, Wanda using her magic powers, becoming the Scarlet Witch. But now on to the negatives about this episode. First of all, one thing that I thought was just very strange is there's a part where Jimmy Woo is in handcuffs, and then he gets put down, trapped basically. And he just unpicks the handcuffs, and he just gets out and walks away immediately, which I thought was a bit stupid. Even maybe just lazy screenwriting. They couldn't be able to add anything else, which I was like, what? He just gets out of it immediately. And the fights at some point was really cool. How in the air, but the fights were cool in the air. But at some point it was just quite anticlimactic, and which I obviously didn't like. I don't think you guys would either. Overall, this episode for me would have to be a 7.5 out of 10. It was good. Probably not the best episode that we've seen, and it's a finale as well, so that's not too good, I have to say. But now talk about this series as a whole. My overall opinion is that it's good. It's definitely not amazing, but it's worth watching. I do like how they actually talk about what happens in this series in Multiverse of Madness, and obviously how they add on to the Scarlet Witch, Wanda's character, and they basically make her the most powerful character ever, which I thought was quite cool. The bad thing about this series for me is just the first 2 episodes honestly are terrible. You want to make the first 2 episodes of a series good, so people keep watching it. If the first 2 aren't very good, people aren't going to keep watching it. And there's also some episodes that are just quite forgettable. In fact, I actually had to rewatch this final episode because I forgot what happened, and even the previous episodes, because I just forgot what happened. It was literally a few days ago I watched them, and I was like, oh, I can't even remember what happens in these episodes. Also, there's some really annoying, corny characters, which I've said before, and I'm sure you guys would agree with me. Like the character Darcy, I didn't even like her in the Thor films, to be honest, and she's just not good in this. Honestly, I'm really not a fan of her. And there's characters like Monica, the twins. The twins are annoying in my opinion. I know they're kids, but they're just annoying as well. And then there's like there's like Ralph or the fake Quicksilver, which I thought was a bit stupid. I don't know why they do that. And it can also be confusing at this time, especially for me as well, this series. It starts off in like a 60s TV show and people are trying to communicate with Wanda from outside Westview, and you don't know even who they are or where they are. And because some of the characters are just quite irrelevant in this series, honestly. Well, for me anyway, and they haven't shown them in any other Marvel shows or films, so I don't really get the point of them. But my final, opinion on this series of WandaVision, I would have to say this show is probably again a 7.5 out of 10 overall. It was pretty good, don't get me wrong, but definitely not the best Marvel TV show I've seen. What did you guys think of this series? Let us know down below, and I'll see you guys later. Goodbye.